This build is a gift and it cannot disappoint.
Oh, this couldn't be more broken.
Today I'm going to be building a bioactive vivarium for what might be the most appropriately named animal of all time. That of course being a frog.
Oh!
Amazon milk frogs are not small, so that introduces some challenges we'll have to solve along the way. And that all starts with the background. It's extremely important to put down a layer of silicone if you're considering using the expanding foam technique. This great stuff it's great. It's really great, but it doesn't stick to glass. And I found that out when a background peeled completely off in the middle of the night. Before we put the expanding foam down, we're putting down a bunch of plant pots. This looks extremely fugly now, but the results are worth it, I pinky promise. Black expanding foam is preferred because it's easier to hide. And once it cures overnight, we'll be making microplastics using this wired drill bit. Mask up, baby. This tickles your lungs in a way that I was not expecting. We do this not to make a mess, but because it'll give our next layer more surface area to stick to. The next layer, of course, is some silicone coated in eco earth to give everything a more natural look. It's time to add our drainage layer, and we'll be using leca. This step cannot be skipped for a build that's going to be as wet as this one will. When you miss the setup every night, excess water will collect in this layer. This will help prevent root rot because you can simply siphon out the excess water. That layer is then separated from the substrate using window screen mesh that I foraged from my landlord's windows. That's a joke, Gregory. I'm not keeping any pets in the apartment, I promise. Pinky promise. The substrate for this is slightly custom and you can think of it like a poor man's ABG. We have some real pre-made ABG, the good stuff, but just not enough. So I'm going to be supplementing that with some Zilla Jungle Mix. And then to chunk it up a bit to aerate the soil, I'm mixing in some sphagnum moss and some leaf litter that I'm mixing into the whole thing. Plant selection for this is an interesting one. I love the look of those crazy, full, intricate dart frog enclosures that get like 3,500 likes on Instagram, but sadly milk frogs are just a little bit too thick and they would bulldoze most of the plants used in those setups. We're gonna try our best to meet somewhere in the middle. We're starting out with this lemon button fern. I'm putting it in what I think will be a low traffic area just because they're a little bit more of a delicate plant. Before adding anything else, I'm drilling some holes in the pots to ensure proper drainage. I'm gonna try out some Palea depressa right in the middle and then pair that up with a bit of pink Fittonia. This Ficus pumila should creep nicely up the background, and I'm using some stainless steel wire here to pin it into the background and encourage which direction it grows. I want it to go up. I'm trying out some spike moss down in the substrate and then adding more Palea and Ficus throughout. I'm also pinning some epipremnum with a ball of sphagnum moss in the upper right corner with the hope that it'll take root and then cascade down over the background. I'm then repeating that same process with some trimmings of Creeping Charlie. I've been told by some of my friends over in the UK that this stuff's actually invasive, so it grows extremely well. Now onto the big stuff. These plants will offer actual climbing space for our milk frogs. We'll be planting a Guzmania lingulata in this cork tube here, and because they're epiphytes, we won't be using substrate. Instead, we'll take a fistful of sphagnum moss and just kind of pop it in there. I'm also adding in this nice fat Calathea orbifolia. I can picture many naps being had on these beautiful leaves. We've selected Hardscape big enough for these chunky frogs to feel stable on, including some maple branches that I sourced from my backyard and baked to sanitize. And then next to that, we'll be adding an aglaonema. Some cork flats were also stacked up way in the background to offer plenty of places to hide. The next day I added in our springtails and isopods. They contribute to the decomposition cycle, and without them and my credit card, these bioactive projects would just not be possible. As we let the setup cycle for the next 8 weeks, I'll be making some small modifications. Jokes aside, I wanted to thank Josh's Frogs for sponsoring a portion of this build, and my wife's boyfriend for letting me sleep inside this week. It's really starting to get cold. To me, this finally feels done. Here's a 15-second montage. But this video is not done. It needs a satisfying ending. 2 months later, Ben came and picked up the project and he was very excited. Look at him go. Here are some cell phone videos of our new residents. They are truly so cute and so very tiny, probably tiny enough to swallow whole, and I hope that he can resist the temptation. Today's outro is a photo of us in 10th grade. That's all I have to say. Look at us. God, we look like shit. I'm doing No Shave November. Do you like it? I don't. Could you join the Discord? There's a link in the description.